Good evening and welcome to Business Today. On this program, we speak about business, entrepreneurship, and many more topics with high-profile individuals. So keep tuning in to today's episode as well whilst we discuss business today. And we have a very important personality. So let's take a look at who we have today. Today we have with us the founder and managing director of Cerrado Campus of Business Management, and we all know that it's very important. Education plays a fundamental role in any person's life. So to know who this individual is, let's take a look at the character profile.
In Sri Lanka in the year 2018. Mr. Buddhika also was awarded consecutively with the Best Educational Leadership Award. His approach is novel and innovative with a vision as a visionary in the relevant fields. Mr. Buddhika is extremely honored to be recognized by the Ambassadors Forum of Sri Lanka. On the 9th of December 2022, Mr. Buddhika had been like Bangladesh and the United Kingdom in mind. His organization also holds responsibility for presenting and representing the Bureau of Foreign Employment in Sri Lanka and overseas while contributing to Sri Lanka's economy at this crucial juncture.
Mr. Buddhika, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening to you. I'm so pleased to come and have a discussion with you.
The pleasure is ours.
Yes.
Now, to start off, I'd like to ask you about giving me a small definition on caregiving and founding a business based on this principle.
Yeah, actually we developed the concept called family doctor concept rather than talking about caregiver. It's kind of a caregiver is a person who is helping someone who cannot do his day-to-day work by his own. Further, actually we have to encourage a caregiver to and client to do his day-to-day work by his own. That is the international definition of a professional caregiver.
Right. Now, what was your inspiration to becoming an entrepreneur?
Actually, like since my childhood, I inherited from my father. He was a admin, head of admin of General Hospital Colombo. He inherited me and he just encouraged me to become an entrepreneur. And I developed my leadership skills. So I wanted to provide a lot of job opportunities for Sri Lankan, right? So that was the initiation that I took to become an entrepreneur.
Right. Now, becoming an entrepreneur, the journey to get there is not an easy one.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about some of the challenges that you faced on your journey to becoming an entrepreneur.
Yes, actually we were struggling to find kind of investment, not only that. So we wanted to get a lot of skills and also we have to educate ourselves to become an entrepreneur. So it's not that much easy to become a good entrepreneur. We have to go through the mill. Not only that, we have to find an unexplored pathway and become an entrepreneur. So I just wanted to learn the process and also I did a lot of homework that encouraged me to become an entrepreneur.
Right. And do you think that becoming an entrepreneur in Sri Lanka versus internationally poses different challenges, or what are your thoughts on this?
Actually, different challenges. We have to learn about the international relationship before we move into internationally, so that system is totally different. So we wanted to learn international relationships. So then I pursued my MBA with OCB. So I learned a lot of the new challenges and how to work with SWOT analysis. So just learn a lot of the remedies and plan A and plan B. Like if you are an entrepreneur, sometimes you are facing a lot of obstacle, but you have to go with plan, not only plan A, you have to have a plan B and plan C.
Right. Now, you mentioned your masters. It's curious to me to know if you would have gotten to where you were even without your higher education, or do you think that it played a pivotal role to getting you where you are right now?
Yeah, we are into education field. Definitely we have to update yourself, not like other avenues. If you are into education field, definitely we have to learn things, like not only the MBA, we have to learn about, as I mentioned, international relationship. Now we are going to educate people so that we want to have a knowledge how we are going to move rather than the academic. Actually we thought of going with a vocational. So if you are providing vocational training, that should be a sophisticated training. So that's what, as an entrepreneur, if you are going into services like education field, yes, you have to upgrade yourself, you have to educate yourself.
Right. So, speaking about your business, let's talk a bit about the process of how you actually started it.
Yeah, since that my both parents are coming from the healthcare background, that encouraged me to do something in relation with healthcare rather than becoming a doctor. I thought of giving a kind of a vocational training related with healthcare. Then only I found this unique concept caregiver, because aging population have been drastically increasing in the world, so that most of the time senior citizens, we need their help, because in few years time elderly population and younger population will become equal in the world, so that we have to cater their needs. So that I thought of rather than going after an employment, better to become an entrepreneur and also travel in an unexplored path. I thought of developing this caregiving concept.
Right. Now, we know that a lot of parents would like their children, like you mentioned, to become doctors, engineers, lawyers, but you chose a different path. Now, for those of you, those of our viewers who do not know exactly what your business model is, do you mind giving us a bit of an in-depth explanation about your concept of this caregiving concept and just explain what it's all about?
Yeah, it's into vocational training. Even the country like Australia, Canada open up doors for the people who are having vocational knowledge.
Okay.
So that our main aim is to to turn unskill into skill. So that caregiver, it's really playing a major role right now, because because of the emotional touch, it has become everlasting job category in the world. Now it has become number 2 under everlasting job category, but year 2023 this would definitely become number 1 in the world. So that's my concept. 33.32 people are losing job in another 2 years time, so you have to find solution for them. Most of them are flying abroad, but they are struggling to find a job. So that's the reason that we wanted to develop this caregiving field, because you cannot put any robotics for this services, because of the emotional touch should be there. So I really wanted to develop this family doctor concept, not like Sri Lankan concept. Now even country like UK, Canada, they develop this caregiving concept. They have changed their syllabuses. So we exactly wanted to do homework what they really need. So we developed new concept and new techniques to become a professional caregiver. It's easy everyone to become caregiver, because from our blood we we have won our hearts, and we know how to interact with the people because of our hospitality, so that we develop that area into become a professional caregiver.
Right. And how did you come up with the business ideas to carry on this concept?
Yeah, I did a market research. So as I just mentioned, aging population have been drastically increasing in the world. So that country like the Europe countries like Canada, UK, I did a market research. They need professional caregivers to take care of them professionally, because senior citizens, we want to develop them, because we can get help from them, because as I mentioned in few years time younger population and the elderly population will become equal. So we need senior citizens support to develop any country in the world, so that if we can develop them and developing their psychological area, so definitely there is a huge job market for professional caregivers.
Right. And what is your process of marketing your business?
Of course, yes. That's what I just told you, because of artificial intelligence, lot of people are losing job. So I really wanted people to understand this. That's what, being an accountant cannot find a job as an accountant in overseas, but most of them are just living there. So I wanted them to convey a good message. You just go with plan B, because during the COVID time many people lost their jobs because of the artificial intelligence, and there are many factors influence for them to think twice. So that's what I really want to develop this caregiving concept. This is everlasting job, but the country like UK and developed countries, they are asking family doctor concept. They are not just asking the people who are having the the minor knowledge on caregiver. They are expecting higher knowledge, technical knowledge on a caregiver to become a professional caregiver and get good paid by them. But anyway, so I developed the concept. For an example, I developed a lot of areas of the syllabus. Not only that, I brought down a lot of equipments for them to give a proper knowledge as per the international standard.
Right, and do you rely on word of mouth, or have you upped your social media platforms? How are you getting the message across?
Rather than social media, I strongly believe word of mouth.
Yeah.
So that 80%, yes, 70 to 80% depend on social media, but now we develop the word to mouth concept right now through reference that we are getting student, like even they are work in developed countries, even they have recommended that you better go to Suradu and get this unique service.
Right, and that's correct. Word of mouth is a really powerful tool indeed. And what do you think about when you think of your business, what is the most rewarding aspect of starting your own business?
Yeah, actually, most rewarding aspects, like now, like we got a free education, right? So we want to do something for the society, rather than most of them what they do is they are just leaving this country and they think about their selves only. But through our knowledge, we have to do something to this society. That's a rewarding things that I thought of, like so during our time, like even lot of entrepreneurs, even like we can think about their aspect, like their main aspect is to help people, giving jobs. That was the reason that I really wanted to become an entrepreneur, because I can provide jobs opportunities. Not only that, I can definitely develop their skill level. If they can develop their skill level, definitely they can get more, they can bring more currency to this country.
Right, so you gain satisfaction and benefit by giving back to the community. That's great. And when we talk about the people's benefit from the business, you mentioned that you can create job opportunities and you're giving a new form of learning to the people. But from the people's point of view, immediately, what are they getting?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, like most of the time, like you can see most of people, they get visa refusals. That's the reason why those countries after the COVID pandemic, we have to understand now the people are just going with new solution, even employers, right? So that actually that was the reason the people are getting more benefit, because they are going with the plan B options. Like in case if the company is going to close down due to any reasons, they will lose their job. Even they, as well as they will lose their visas. So we have to think about that. So that's for the reason people are having a lot of benefits, because if we are thinking only leave this country, but we never think about the job that what they are going to do in overseas. They have to think about that job. So that's a benefit. This has 100% employability comparison to other field in this world.
And when it comes to immigrating from the country, or emigrating rather, do you think that you can do something about making the people stay back? Because I know that a lot of people are emigrating right now, and what you're doing is you're developing a pathway for them to continue their journey once they emigrate. But do you think that there's a way of making some of the people retain in Sri Lanka?
That has to be there. That's what we anyway, I strongly believe they have to get additional knowledge, like they have to leave this country at least 2 to 3 years, but they should return to this country. That has to be think about that, because
Correct.
Most of the people, 1/4 of people are living in this world, in this country, but we have to think about what is the mechanism that we can bring them again to develop this country. That's what I want to tell you in my concept, professional caregiving concept. They can work 2 to 3 or 5 years in overseas. After that, they can come back to Sri Lanka, they can put up their own care home. That is what I have been doing right now. I have already informed my students, rather than stay in there, get the knowledge, get a skill level up, and just come to your motherland and develop your own concept, caregiver concept, because most of foreigners are planning to come to Sri Lanka and stay their rest of life in Sri Lanka. You are the best person to put up your own care home. Also, you can provide lot of job opportunities for Sri Lankans.
Right. And when it comes to developing your own concept and going away from the rest of the crowd, how do you deal with that self-doubt and the doubt that you get from others?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, most of the time, that's what I told you, I develop the good process. After developing good process, if you can just go with the process, you don't want to be worried about that. You don't have to have a doubt on that.
So you have to trust the process.
You should trust the process.
Yeah.
Without trusting the process, you cannot move on.
Correct.
Yes.
And I know that you must be having a lot on your plate right now with plans of expanding, like you mentioned. How do you manage your work-life balance?
Yeah, actually, the first of all, we have to think about life, your personal life, and also you have to take care of yourself first. So actually, it's 24 hours definitely we can manage. Like, to be honest, most of them are telling we are really busy, we don't have time for doing exercises and other things, but we can balance both. But you have to have a good process, like you have to do lot of homework and you have to work for a schedule. If you work for a schedule, you don't want to be worried, right? You can manage assume that you are working only 10 hours, you can manage at 10 hours what you are going to do, right? You have to write down during the particular day what are the tasks, what are the important tasks you have to finish first. In that way, we can definitely balance both sides.
Right. Now, like we briefly touched on before, when it comes to higher education, we see a big trend now, which might actually be a good thing, where students are really updating themselves, like you mentioned in your own words as well, and they're gaining all sorts of qualifications. How important do you think it is for children and students and the youth of the current day and age to excel in higher education?
Yeah,
how important is that?
That's what my message for them, everyone. Most of them are trying to get a qualification on academic field.
Okay.
But rather than the academic, we have to think about vocational training. Very recently, you would have seen even Immigration Minister of Australia, Mr. Alex Studd, is telling you many students are coming to Australia for their further studies, but upon the completion of their study, they are struggling to find a job. That's what he's inviting people, just come up with a vocational training. If you want to enhance your knowledge in vocational training, even he has mentioned what are the main courses, vocational courses in Australia to develop your career. Not only that, it has 100% employability in Australia. He has named the caregiver is number 1. That's what I want everyone to think about, that rather than the academic. While you are developing your academic knowledge, better you just develop your vocational knowledge. The country needs people who are having vocational knowledge.
Okay.
That is my advice for the young generation. They are just thinking to leave this country, getting an academic knowledge, but better you just think about your vocational knowledge as well.
Right, and just to clarify between the difference of vocational training and academic training for anyone who's out there who's wondering what the difference is, do you mind explaining that?
Different is like most of the time vocational is hands-on experience.
Right.
For an example, you have to, I can get an example, like hair cutter. It's a vocational training, like he can work until he's getting older, like he is having a job, because everybody has to cut their hairs, for an example. Like in that way,
correct,
the most of the time academic, like you might be a lawyer, you might be getting your higher degree on management or any field, but sometimes you have to think about that. Now you are trying to do your master in Australia related to business management, but you have to think about upon the completion of your program, can you find a job there? Can you apply your PR? Because even the those country people also finding difficulty to find a job. But for the vocational people, yes, definitely, as an example, even plumbers, there's a huge demand in UK. So we have to think about that one. That's a difference between the vocational and the academic. It's more vocational is more of a hands-on experience.
Right, and just to touch on a bit about the process of getting there. Let's say, for example, just considering the viewer's point of view, let's say that I am a student who has completed my master's in, for example, business administration or business management. What's the next step? What do I do next?
That's what I want to tell you. That's what they can develop the plan B solution.
Okay.
Definitely they can develop their same career. They have been doing it. At the same time, they have to think about kind of a vocational training, because for an example, now most of our students flying abroad, but they need a part-time job, but they are struggling to find a part-time job. They need a part-time job because they have to pay their second semester. Not only that, they have to find their foods, shelters and everything. It involves huge cost, so that they cannot just work in a company and getting high paid by the employers. But if they have done kind of a vocational training, assume that the person is applying visa to Australia to pursue his master in business administration.
Okay.
But the thing is, at the same time, the student has to earn right, while he's studying, because he has to pay for the rents and the foods for the second semester, because their parents have spent, sometime they would have mortgaged their houses, land to find money for their first year. But the second year, normally what consultants are telling, don't worry, you can do a part-time job, you can have savings, you can pay the next semester. But 99% they cannot do it unless they have done something like related to vocational training. Like that's what caregiver field came to the picture. If they can work as a caregiver, you don't believe per hour they can earn nearly $35 to $50 per hour. Whereas if you are working as a cleaner, the packing officer, you can only earn $19 to $20. That is our concept. Better, just think about either it may be part-time or full-time job, but you have to think about the wages, the per hour, how much I can earn. So that is the pathetic situation in most of Sri Lankan students. They are returning back to Sri Lanka. They have finished halfway of their study. The reason they cannot find money for their next semester.
Right, and speaking about the duration of vocational training, we know that certain degrees are 3 to 4 years and masters for 2 years and so on and so forth. How long does it take a vocational training? Any example, perhaps?
Definitely, you can become qualified professional caregiver within 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
That's the interesting part. You are pursuing your degree 4 years, 5 years, finally you are struggling to find a job. But within 3 to 6 months, you become professional, vocational, skillful person, right? And then you can have 100% employability in overseas. Not only the overseas, now we develop the local job concept. Our main aim is to stop sending housemates right now. It has been happening because Indonesia already done. As a young entrepreneur, not only me, my team is working hard to stop sending housemates. We have a solution for them.
All right. Now, before we wind up the program, just in short, a small advice, what would you like to tell the viewer out there?
Yeah, definitely. We can expect same kind of the disaster like COVID in the future. Now we have to think about that. That's what I want to tell you. Rather than the think in the same process, you have to change the process according to the market and just grow through the mill before you do anything. Do a market research. Right, after doing the market research, only you have to take a very crucial decision. Definitely, nobody cannot put you down as long as you have done in-depth studies.
All right, thank you so much for your valuable knowledge and expertise and advice as well. That was Rachitha Buddhika, the founder and managing director of Suradu Campus of Business Management. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you very much.